All right, everyone, welcome back. I've got my paper, my ruler, and my pen here. This is a continuation of our talk on how to draw landscapes and how to incorporate one-point perspective to create a sense of depth and distance in all of our landscape drawings. So again, you're going to use your ruler. I'm using a pen. I recommend you using a pencil. The only reason I'm using a pen is because I want my viewers to be able to see what I am doing very clearly. So we'll get started. When drawing a landscape, the first thing we want to do is we want to establish that background. We want to establish a horizon line. So this is important. I think for your first landscape drawing, I would just kind of go about middle of the page and draw your line using your ruler to let this be the established background for your image, or at least horizon line. The horizon line again is where all of is the furthest point away in our picture, where all of our parallel lines will kind of intersect. Also, what we're going to do to make sure that all of our converging points come together is we're going to put a dot closer towards the center right here. I wouldn't do this as a very big dot. This dot is just for us to use as a reference point to make sure that as we are drawing, we can make sure that all of our converging lines will end at this one spot. So step one is pretty much complete. We've got our horizon line, we have our vanishing point. Now we need to draw in our background, middle ground, and foreground, and then apply the details as we go. So for my landscape drawing, I'm going to have mountains in the background. So in the background, remember, this is the furthest away from our audience. So this has the least amount of details, but that does not mean they have no details at all. So I'm just going to create a little mountain pass right here. Again, this does not have to look perfect. All right, cool. So I've got this little mountain pass kind of in between here. These mountains, again, they have no details right now, but again, these are going to be the furthest from our audience in the first point. Next is our midground. Our midground is going to be filled with lots of things that are in our environment. So I'm imagining this region is probably more of a tundra. Maybe it's a region that has little trees in it. And so what I'm going to start doing is closer towards the background, I'm going to draw some lines that kind of go up and down like this. And what these lines are going to represent are tree stumps, the furthest trees that are going to be away from us. And again, I'm going to do them on this side too. Again, right now these trees just look like sticks. They do look like little lines, and truthfully they would if we were looking at this at a vast distance. Now we're going to create a volume of trees. Now the thing about the background is that you can have a volume or a massive amount of trees put together, and you can conjoin them and join them together by drawing large masses of them. So what I'm doing right here is I'm just creating some up and down strokes to simulate the two tree tops. You can do this towards the bottom too, in the same direction. These are just going up and down a little bit more. Please forgive my cat in the background. He's being a little turd right now. Yeah, I know. And then that's my bunny. Got a whole zoo over here. All right. And just based on that alone, we can already tell like these trees are further away in the picture, but they're not as far as our background mountains are. And so again, I'm going to repeat that on both sides. I'm just going to create some shapes of some tree tops. These are probably more like evergreens. They don't have to look very detailed. In fact, they should look less detailed than the things that we're going to draw a little bit closer. So, based on this, I've gotten my background kind of getting situated. I've also started some trees that could be towards the midground a little bit. And so now in order to create some more depth to this, this is a very common trick that people do, is that they'll put a road or something that goes up the middle of their picture that kind of gives that illusion of depth as we're going. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my ruler now, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to find 2 points on my paper. This is be where our our road was going to start, and we're going to converge it in onto that background. So I'm going to go about here and here. Is going to be where my lines are. And from here, I'm going to take my ruler and draw lines that go to this point, just like that. Again, this is a very common practice that people do when they're practicing perspective. And so right now it looks like I have this upside down V shape that's going towards the end, and we can add some details to this as we keep going. But for now, this is just a straight road that's leading up into a mountain pass up here. So what are some things that we might see on the side of the road? Well, it depends on where we're headed. I think that in this picture, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come towards the middle ground a little bit more, and I'm going to throw some shrubbery around here. Now notice, as I get closer to the foreground, I'm going to draw these shrubs a little bit bigger and a little bit more detailed than the other ones that came before it. So in this one, I have a little bit more detail than the last one. And then this one over here, it's going to have a little bit less detail. And these shrubs, again, are just to help us create that sense of depth. Lets us know that these things are further away than what we're normally seeing. So I got some shrubs on one side. Now I think I'm going to do something kind of unique on this side. I think I want kind of like a little pasture over here, maybe something for some cows. In order to do that, I'm going to start with something that would be in the foreground, which would be a gate. So I'm going to do a little gate over here. And this will just be a gate that'll hold in some of the cows. Not too basic. This gate needs to have lots of detail into it though. This is part of the foreground, and the foreground is the area that again has the most depth to it. So I have some friends in real life that own cows, and they would be very upset at the way this gate looks, because this is not a very good sturdy gate. But right now we're just trying to get our depth and perspective going up. They'd be very upset at this cow. Maybe I'll add some wire into it, you know. Yeah, totally. Some chicken wire, because that'll keep the cows in, right? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect this to a part of the fence that will be right next to it. And just like before, now that our converging lines are going to meet and towards this vanishing point, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to very lightly draw parts of a fence that lead to this side of the fence. Notice how what I did is I drew a straight line to a point, but the point is still going to be lined up with our horizon line. So again, I got this here. It's kind of going the same direction. I'm going to do a little bit of editing there real quick. And then again from here, I can draw my lines. And maybe I'll fix this one a little bit. Maybe this gate will look a little bit different. But notice as I'm getting closer to the fence post on this side, my fences, or my fence legs are getting smaller too. So we've got this. Now we can take our ruler again, kind of create a little bit of another fenced-in area back here, just for those cows. And again, since it is further towards the middle ground, this part of the fence is going to be a lot smaller. Alright. And it doesn't have to be as detailed. Since it's in the midground, it's a little bit further away, we can be a little bit more liberal with our lines. Now, this is not to say that we don't want it to look realistic. If we're going for something a little bit more realistic, we should add more detail. But again, this is again just to show us how to get a little bit of depth in our picture. Alright, cool. So I'm going to end this off with a little bit more shrubs in the background. Again, these are getting less detailed to get further away from the foreground. Got a little bit more that are in here. Maybe some areas where the cows have been eating up the grass. Maybe got a little water in there. All right. And now we have ourselves a little road next to a gate that seems to get smaller as we're going out towards the back. Last thing I think I'm going to do with the road is I'm just going to add some details as it's going down the road. So we can do lines if we want to. I think lines kind of look weird. This looks to me more of like a straight dirt road. It's kind of weird. But I am going to add some details kind of as they go along. But again, as I get closer to the middle ground and background, these details will get smaller and smaller. Maybe do some truck tires, tire marks as they're going down the middle. Kind of going off into the distance there. And of course, like in all proper landscape drawings, we'll do us a little sunset at the background, maybe a little clouds. Alrighty, so hopefully you've enjoyed this really quick video on using perspective and depth to create some distance in your landscape drawings. Hopefully this will give you some ideas of what you can do using the ruler, things like that. Tune in next time to for some more drawing tips. But for now, be blessed, take it easy, and have a good one.